So moving on here, I'm very happy to introduce David Gaffney, who's a cloud solution architect and engineer here at InterVision. And he's going to be talking a little bit about our approach to ongoing operations in the cloud. And, there's really no one better to be talking about this. I have the distinct pleasure of working with David pretty much on a daily basis. And I know that he's very focused on continuing to evolve our managed service offerings with our clients. I think a traditional managed service provider is best for them to kind of keep you in a box and keep you operating a specific way that's best for them. And I know that's not David's style, right? We're continuing to evolve and grow. He's got some very exciting updates on our managed service capabilities in hyperscale cloud that he's going to be sharing. And I'm really excited to turn things over to him. So David, I'll let you get going.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate the kind words, and thanks to everyone for taking time out of their busy day to join us for today's InterVision Cloud Strategy Summit. Today I'm going to talk about how you can optimize, modernize, and secure operations in a public cloud. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of an analyst slide here and talk through it briefly. Basically, public cloud continues to take a larger and larger share of worldwide IT infrastructure spend. By 2024, IDC predicts that public cloud will represent 40% of all IT spend worldwide. Gartner puts that number at 45%. So regardless, there's a long-term trend at play here, and it's playing out. Which begs the question, why? Why are organizations moving so rapidly to the cloud? And there's a lot of articles on this. There's a lot of discussion about it. But basically the reasons are varied, but they can be broken down into three main categories. And those are technical, financial, and business value. So technical is things like scalability and resiliency. While these are not unique to the cloud, they become so much easier in the cloud when you can deploy infrastructure as code, have secure code-based repositories for your infrastructure and that kind of stuff. Scalability, resiliency, definitely possible in a non-cloud environment, but so much easier and more cost-effective in the cloud. And then the other thing is cloud-native services. These are services that you must be in the cloud to take advantage of. Things like relational database service, which massively simplified database management, especially for highly resilient databases in the cloud. And then there's financial reasons. Those have to do with cost models, such as the pay-as-you-go cost model, cost avoidance, not paying for things you don't want to pay for, like a data center. And then the trend in moving to OpEx versus CapEx for financing big IT spend and big IT purchases. So those are both really important reasons, but probably the most compelling reason why customers and companies are moving to the cloud wholesale is really has to do with enabling business value. And that means using the characteristics of cloud computing, such as pay-as-you-go, such as scale up and down, instantaneous deployments, trials that don't require upfront costs for hardware and things like that. Those characteristics of cloud are enabling customers, enabling other areas of the business to become faster, more efficient, more flexible. This really has to do with innovation, driving business value, and the cloud becomes a means to an end. And that's why we're seeing such adoption here. Next slide, Chris. So Forrester had this to say on the topic, and I thought this was kind of interesting. It's well understood that using cloud is necessary to be competitive. The question that most organizations are asking is, when should we be moving all of our workloads to the cloud? Now, I'm not convinced that that's going to be imminent, but you start to think that with all of these reasons why cloud is becoming so pervasive, I think it's real, and potentially someday there could be a majority of all IT infrastructure in the cloud. But the fact is, you want to go to the next slide, Chris. Fact is, though, that operating in the cloud can be challenging. As Dustin pointed out earlier, skill sets remain a challenge, especially if you're using cloud-native architectures. To be able to source and hire and retain those skill sets has been a challenge. It's a different mindset when it comes to security and compliance in the cloud, and that requires different skill sets and different approaches as well. Cost management is really important in the cloud too, because if not managed properly, costs can scale out of control pretty quickly. So it requires vigilance, and it's a different approach to traditional IT, where it was more by capacity management. Now it's basically a pay-as-you-go model, making sure that costs don't spiral. But I think the most interesting point about operating the cloud is, while it's important, it's not differentiating. Running a cloud operations group is great, keeps your infrastructure up and running, but it doesn't necessarily add value to the business or allow the business to grow. So next slide. So what do we recommend? Of course, I'm glad you asked. Here at InterVision, we recommend that you embrace your core competencies, and that means staffing to support your business, not commodities such as cloud infrastructure support. Investing your resources in differentiators, and leverage insight to gain excellence through partnership. Focus your people, your resources, and your money on creating business value for your customers. I would recommend you take this. Chris, go ahead and skip this one. You can go ahead. Yeah, thanks. So, so I think the most important thing here is we can help. InterVision can help. We've got 15 plus years of providing managed services. We've got a 24/7 idle-based operations center, premier AWS partner, and deep cloud expertise. So we can certainly help you with this. I'm going to go to the next slide. You know, and when it comes to operating the cloud, it's very similar to, many things are very similar to on-prem in terms of, you know, some of the main block and tackling that you have. Event incident management that has to be addressed, change management, configuration, security, patch, continuity. All of those things have to be addressed in the cloud. They might have different technologies involved, require different skill sets, but they still have to be involved. But then there's something that's a little bit unique. I talked about this before. It's cost optimization. It's ongoing, making sure that week to week, month to month, you're making sure that your operation, your environment is optimized for the cloud, so that you aren't spending unnecessarily on costs. Next slide. And so InterVision has a cloud cost optimization service that actually is based on the AWS well-architected framework, and it goes through all of these areas here, such as cloud financial management, making sure that you've got the right resources assigned, and then optimizing those over time. Next slide. So InterVision has actually two different types of managed services for cloud. We've got what we call AWS Managed Services, or AMS, and we've also got Managed Cloud Services for AWS, MCS. So those are the two acronyms we use internally kind of to describe our two offerings. But AMS is ideal for new builds, new migrations, and they're ideal for customers in highly regulated industries with strict change control. It's a very prescriptive architecture. It's got a landing zone. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And it's great for low-touch production environments and server-based environments. So if you've got a traditional server-based architecture, you want that managed in the cloud, AMS is a great solution for that. We also have a solution called MCS, and this is great for taking over existing environments where you don't want to actually migrate. It's also for customers who prefer to have direct access to the AWS console. So when you get into AMS, there is restricted access, and it's part of the strict change control process. But MCS allows more flexibility, allows customers to have native access as they would, and also, you know, be able to get into the console directly. But it also provides solutions for cloud native architectures, such as serverless, containers, and DevOps environments. Next slide. So what is AMS? AWS Managed Services by InterVision is basically a cloud managed service that is highly automated. It's got a prescriptive architecture, and so you can see the graphic on the right side of the slide talks about the architecture. It's got a landing zone, includes a management account with shared services, network security, and log archive, all in their own accounts. So it's based on many design best practices from AWS, and it's prescribed and rigid, and it does require a migration into this environment. That being said, once you're in the environment, it provides a lot of cool features, a lot of automation that's built in. It's got the ability to also provide deployment through automation with some preconceived or preset CloudFormation templates that can deploy infrastructure using the RFC, request for change process that's been automated as part of the solution. So it's a highly automated, highly secure, highly compliant solution. Next slide. As I said, it's ideal for organizations that are migrating new workloads to AWS that require strict change management, and it's great for low-touch production environments. Next slide. But there is a trade-off. So you're going to give up direct access to the AWS console. If you need to make changes, you're going to have to go in and create an RFC. Honestly, the RFC process is simple and it's fast. 80% of all changes via RFC are immediately executed, but it provides an auditable paper trail of everything being done, and also provides guardrails as to what can be done within the environment. So it's great for, like I said, highly compliant environments. And it's also a great way to gain maturity. If you're operating the cloud as something new to your environment and you want to force maturity on the cloud, the AMS RFC, strict change control process is actually a very, very good solution. Next slide. However, it's not ideal for every customer. We've got a wide variety of customers running in the cloud right now. Some are very mature and have been doing it for a long time and have very mature operating capabilities, and they don't want to give up their native access to the AWS console. And so for reasons like this is why we rolled out MCS, Managed Cloud Services for AWS. MCS is a suite of managed services that provides similar type of service that you'd get in AMS, but from a slightly different standpoint. You can have native access to the console. You can make changes, as are all recorded, of course, the CloudTrail logs and things like that. So it's auditable, and it can be very highly secure and compliant as well. But there's not as much automation around that environment. So MCS is a suite of managed services, and it provides 4 different types of services. So traditional managed services for managed server environments, traditional managed server environments for such as EC2 instances, RDS instances, that's included. We also have a separate module for serverless environments. So if you're running a Lambda environment, we've got a module for that. We've got a module that deals with containers and Kubernetes and ECS. And then there's also a separate module for managed DevOps automation. So if you're running a CI/CD pipeline, but you want some assistance in designing that, deploying it, and managing it to ensure that it is running properly and you're being efficient and effective in deploying your code, this is a great solution. So Chris, you want to take a look at the next slide? So this is a little overview of MCS for AWS Servers. It is a managed service for traditional server-based environments, and it handles, not just the server, but also all the other components in the environment. So the VPC, any related components, the EBS, EFS, all that kind of stuff. It provides all the operational domains that I talked about earlier. So incident management, change management, configuration, all that stuff is part of the service, as well as, of course, cost optimization. Next slide. The MCS for AWS Containers is a great solution for customers running Amazon's EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service, or Amazon's ECS service, Elastic Container Service. It's essentially a managed service that helps optimize your running of container orchestration environments in the cloud. We provide a lot of support in terms of optimizing these environments. We can help upgrade the container cluster environments so that the worker nodes are up to speed. And also we provide, of course, incident response, troubleshooting, and any deployment assistance that you guys might require. Next slide. We also have a MCS for AWS serverless environments. So this service is tailored around cloud-native serverless environments, supports Lambda, DynamoDB, API Gateway, and step functions. So it's monitoring, incident response, change requests, and of course, best practice guidance when you're running these types of environments in the cloud. Next slide. And then we also have a MCS service for managed DevOps automation. So this is CI/CD pipelines. If you're doing any type of application development and deploying that into the cloud, most likely you're already using some type of CI/CD pipeline. If not, and that's where you'd like to be, we can help design, deploy that, and operate that for you in the cloud. Would be happy to discuss this in further. We support a number of different technologies there. So you'd be hard pressed to be operating a CI/CD pipeline that we don't have experience operating in. And then we wrap all of our managed services with MCS foundational services, service management. And this is basically a designated or pair of designated technical resources, a cloud service delivery manager and a cloud service engineer. These two folks help basically provide you with white glove concierge type service for your environment. They create and maintain runbooks. They provide game day support, which is basically a live walkthrough of all the processes that you would need to go through to achieve support, and also ensure that your needs are being met. The cloud service engineer is a designated technical resource that can provide consultation as well as suggestions on how to optimize your environment. So it's really it's a great feature, and that's included as part of the service. Next slide. Benefits for InterVision's managed cloud services is essentially the ability to get into the cloud quicker, reduce your operational costs, de-risk your environment by having a team of dedicated professionals operate the cloud for you. And then, most importantly, it's being able to focus your business on adding business value and not the nuts and bolts and blocking and tackling of operating in the cloud. Next slide. And last but not least, why InterVision Managed Cloud Services? We've been doing this a while, 15 plus years as a managed service provider. We're a premier AWS consulting partner, and we have a lot of experience and a lot of deep experience in this area. So whether it's traditional server-based environments or cloud native type of solutions, we've got a managed service that can help you out here. So I'm happy to discuss this with any of you down the road, and I'll stick around for questions a little bit later.
Thank you so much, David. And thank you for doing such a great job of breaking down those offerings.